Black Lives Matter. Does my blackness scare you? Or is it my strength that intimidates? Is it my resilient mind or my robust facade? Are you confused by my meekness or my loud, thumping soul? Is it my curls that confuses you or my pressed edges? Tell me, because Black Lives Matter. Is it the drive that motivates me or the passion that surrounds my core, pushes me to succeed against all odds? Is it my round hips, thick thighs, or plump lips that angers you? Is it my walk or my talk? Is it my elegance, my finesse? Because I know you.
Yes, I'm saying that this program was necessary because we in the African community in the Caribbean felt our governments failed us by making that announcement at the last Caricom Heads of Government conference that our reparations, that is reparations for Africans who suffered enslavement in the Caribbean, should be joined to the reparations of people from who came here as indentured laborers. With that in mind, the African Cultural and Development Association decided that we should go and consult with Africans in Guyana and across the Caribbean, and herein this program, which we have on the ACDA hour today. Among the participants is Brother Eric Phillips, the chair of the Guyana Reparations Committee, and he is the one who penned the letter which has resulted in this tour, right? So, without further deliberations, I'll ask Brother Eric to give a short synopsis of his letter and why it was necessary.
Thanks, Brother Elton. Good afternoon, good day, everyone. Let me take you through the process. Last year, at the 10th anniversary of the formation of the Caricom Reparations Commission, it was decided that we needed to update the 10-point plan because so many things had happened. You know, the Brathel Report, the Dutch Prime Minister, the Dutch King Charles, Guardian, you name it. And it was felt that many groups were left out of the process. For example, the Diaspora, the initial 10-point plan didn't talk about people living outside of Guyana, outside of the Caribbean, in the UK, Canada, USA, Holland, France, Britain, etc. There's also the need to also deal with the Africa Union and Africa as one of the key areas where this process started, the process of enslaved Africans. There's also issues about leaving out women. The document was silent on women and silent on some additional issues such as climate change in the area in point number 10, which dealt with debt relief in the initial 10-point plan, when now we're looking at financial reparations, including debt relief, including climate change, etc. Now, as we started to look at that process, Prime Minister Mia Mottley started to raise the issue at the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee. And that Prime Ministerial Subcommittee is comprised of Guyana, Suriname, Barbados as chair, St. Vincent, and Haiti. They're the ones that oversee reparations, and then they report into the broader CARICOM heads of state. And beneath the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee, you have the CARICOM Reparations Commission, which is comprised of the heads of all of the national committees. Now, last year, we also expanded the commissions to include the Rastafarians, regionally indigenous people, Pan-African movement, St. Kitts, the Netherlands, as it was felt that the movement had grown into a global movement, and therefore you had to deal with issues such as when the Dutch apologized, what are you doing with Aruba and Bonaire and Curacao, which are still colonies? So that process had lots of discussions, and it was during that time that Prime Minister Mottley urged on by Ali and Santoki, wanting to introduce the topic of indentureship. Now, the new ambassador to Guyana and Suriname from Holland came and gave his credentials to both prime ministers, both President Ali and President Santoki. And they said to him that they are not interested in what he's saying unless they include indentureship. And the Dutch ambassador, as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Holland, whom I visited twice last year to ask them why Guyana was not involved or included in the language of the apology, said that that's a non-starter. They don't want to hear anything about indentureship. To add to it, just the Giselle guy, O'Brien, had started to do country studies on how monies could be gotten from the EU to fund development programs for reparatory justice in each country. He's completed Jamaica and Barbados and was trying to do Guyana, especially since the Dutch had apologized, Guyana and Suriname. When he came to Guyana, the government refused to see him. And when he finally got to see them, they said to him, if you're not looking at indentureship, we're not interested in even talking to you or giving you any information. Beyond that, there's been a lot of pressure from Ravidev and Bataram and the Inter-Caribbean Diaspora Network on Sir Hilary Beckles and Vereen Shepherd, basically accusing them in the media and in a letter to them, saying that they're only dealing with Black people business and that they would like to join the National Reparations Committee to bring their issues. Now, of the 15 groups in the CARICOM Reparations Commission, only St. Lucia, which is chaired by Earl Bousquet, who is a writer in the Guyana Chronicle and whose father himself already friendly with Chetty Jagan, wanted indentureship included. Of course, Vereen Shepherd and Hilary Beckles as academicians and people at UE felt pressured to discuss it. So that came up several times, and on each occasion, the vote was 12-3, saying we don't want anything to do with this. Nevertheless, Mia Motley at the Accra conference last November, when she was doing an online presentation to open the seminar or the conference along with the president of Ghana, raised the issue of indentureship, and it fell on cold ears. So apart from her mentioning the word officially during her presentation, it was never discussed because the African Union didn't want anything to do with it. Neither were all the groups from the United States and the UK and Europe and from the Caribbean. Fundamentally, the feeling was that if you bring indentureship into this process, one, it corrupts the process, two, it delays it, and three, it was not a crime against humanity, so why were we even bringing it up? So Motley, Ali, and Santoki are the architects of this. Now, the 10-point plan is under revision. We'll see the first draft next week. We spent 4 days in Jamaica in January redoing it. And we are now waiting on the first draft to be circulated to the heads of all national committees for final comment. And then Sir Hilary Beckles will go away for 3 days and finalize it. Now, the agreement we had in Jamaica is that indentureship and colonialism will be mentioned in the introduction. We'll talk about these phases of indigenous genocide, followed by African enslavement, followed by indentureship, followed by colonialism, or all of them being part of colonialism. But it's not going to be a new point, and it's not going to be any part of the 10 points. It's just that in the introduction, this will be discussed as a Caribbean experience. And so it was surprising when at the 46th meeting held in Guyana, 25th to the 28th of February, this announcement came out. And it was actually encouraged by Mia Motley to say something that was really smart. What she said was, let us include these four as a Caribbean experience, but we will leave the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee to decide on the modalities. So she left it open, hoping that somehow Indians and Indian indentureship would be included in the existing national committees. And that's why I preempted her and them by writing that article and essentially saying that there needs to be separate committees. And where we are right now is that on the 28th of this month, there's going to be the first Caribbean Reparations Commission meeting. It lasts about 4 hours to discuss the modalities. And myself and Dobin Omard and most of the Ahisam Antigua and most of the other folks are basically saying, form your own committee. Now we're also embarrassing them a little further by highlighting that if you're going to deal with indentureship, what about the 50,000 Irish that were sent to Barbados between 1651 and 1660, who still live in Barbados, some of them, and they're called redlegs because they were burnt. As a matter of fact, Rihanna's family on the paternal side is from there. So that's where we are. We are going to have a meeting on the 28th to discuss the 10-point plan, as well as this announcement that came out of the heads of states. Now, I've spoken with Sir Hilary Beckles. I shared the letter before I put it in the media, and I essentially said to him that we are trying to save you guys from embarrassment and from an uproar that you will never be able to manage. Because as an intellectual, you know that indentureship has nothing to do with what we're trying to do. And you also know that this is just to impede Black people's business, because now we have all these apologies. Now we have the Brits, the London, the Church of England putting up 100 million to £1 billion, etc., etc. And all they want to do is to jump on board, but more importantly, to slow down our process. So I've given you a quick synopsis of where it is right now from my perspective as to what has happened and the context within which it arose. Thanks, Elton.
Thank you very much, Brother Eric.
Greetings, Sister Luzette.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I just saw you
Great.
come on. It's Sister Penda.
Yes.
How are you?
I actually did realize it was you. I'm doing well, thank you. Happy to be here, and when Amobi is ready to have me speak, I will.
Thank you. Brother Elton, back to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Brother Eric. Now that we have a synopsis of where this all came from, we are in a better position to now pronounce. And I think as a Caribbean people, we need to let our governments understand that our reparation is not a matter to be juggled. It's not a matter to be politicized for people to get their selfish gains from it, but for the people of the Caribbean to benefit, because it's our foreparents that struggled and suffered. As Sister Luzette has indicated, she's willing to speak. I will listen to her. Sister Luzette is from St. Vincent, for those who may not know her.
Right. Good afternoon, all. And I'm delighted that Eric Phillips is here. I don't really know him, but I know of him and his involvement in the reparations movement.
We're
Not
Facebook
only,
friends.
Yeah, not only am I Vincentian, I have lived in England for 24 and a half years. I went there when I was a week before my 21st. And so I went through the process of seeing the Race Relations Act of, I think it was 67 or so, play out. And I don't know why we don't learn from past experiences. Now, I really don't care if I mash any feet, but I have to say this. When just after the riots, very early riots, when they came up with the I think it's 67 Act, Race Relations Act, everybody who had a brown or black skin were deemed black. Everybody called ourselves black. While I was there, which was in the mid-70s, we gradually changed from black to black and ethnic minorities. And you would find that label is there because some people who before, when the struggle was happening for us to have the Race Relations Act, they decided they were not black anymore and they wanted to be treated differently. So we had a black and ethnic minority thing. And it basically watered down the black experience and the black struggle. And you can, I mean, if you go back to, even now, if you look at what's happening, the people of African descent have been marginalized, if you will, because I always use the analogy of Guinness. I was known for this. I served on a London borough and I came up with the idea of a Guinness. No matter how you pour Guinness, the white always floats atop. And this is how I see our cause. So when Elton sent me this article asking me what I thought, up to now, I have not read further than the introduction because I don't have to. All I'm prepared to do is to help teach these people, especially our leaders who do not consult with us, especially in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is to let these leaders know that those of us of African descent with experience will not allow them to stretch our cause like elastic until it either bursts or don't have any strength. This is why I'm here. And the other thing we need to do, we need to find ways of joining hands across CARICOM. I mean, CARICOM nations. There's no good Elton being in Guyana, Luzette in St. Vincent, somebody else in Trinidad. No, we must find ways to have some coalition because that's what our heads of governments are when they're doing the mischief. They form alliances among themselves without our involvement. And if we're serious, we would find ways of making sure that they're not speaking to one or two people from maybe one or two member states. And that's where I leave it right now until we get further, unless you have questions.
Elton, can I add to Suzette? Because the Prime Minister of St. Vincent is one of the allies to Mia. And we have to recognize that her primary goal is to be elected as the next Secretary General of the United Nations. She said that openly. There are articles. I think I sent it to you, Elton. And so she needs to get votes from Modi and all these folks. And what I see happening is that she has put Ali to become the spokesperson for reparations in the Caribbean when it's her role as chair of the Prime Minister's subcommittee. And he's the one who's giving coverage for her, but she is fully supportive because her idea and their idea is that they're bringing Caribbean unity, when in reality, they're doing the opposite. Just wanted to add that.
Yes, well, that's why I say our call should not be one that should be left to a person's personal gains and their politicization. We as a people, as Sis Luzette is as hinted, we need to link across the Caribbean. So even though we have our reparations committee, people at the grassroots level need to be working to ensure that what the reparations committee is doing and what our governments are doing in our names is more or less what we expect them to do.
And I add as well, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I think it's particularly dangerous for us in St. Vincent and Grenadines, where we have a somewhat unique situation. We are talking about how we get our culture and everything else repatriated back to St. Vincent and Grenadines via the Garinagu. And so when you stretch this thing, how are you going to include the Garinagu? When the CARICOM states heads of government came up with their whatever point plan for reparations, the Garinagu were added as an afterthought when some people in England decided, hold on a minute here, what about those people? And so we have to be careful. Each island would have their indigenous peoples. I'm not even sure if...
Yeah, the Garifuna were included in the St. Vincent Conference in 2014.
Yes, that's true.
And
As an
they were the
afterthought.
ones that forced the issue of point number 2, which is indigenous program, and they're incorporated in that as well as the broader 10-point plan. But they had a voice, and you're right, each country has specific differences. For example, in Guyana, we got Portuguese, Chinese, Indian, German indentures. In Barbados, you got the Irish. And these heads of states don't think about this because they're all politically driven.
You know, underlying all of this is the fact that in our enslavement, we all know there's our children were born slaves. These indentured, their children were not born indentured. So therein we have some specific differences between the two systems. The indentured, they came under contract. We never had a contract. Many of us were just kidnapped. So they're so vast. The difference is so vast.
Elton, there is an Indian professor from Suriname who has written a book that gives over 30 reasons why they're not similar and why they're very different. And in the conference call we had last year with Ravi Dev, the CARICOM Reparations Commission had an event that lasted 3 hours with Ravi Dev and all of them from South Africa, Seychelles, Fiji. Even in that call, they agreed that it shouldn't be involved in the same thing. They said that because of they tried to say it's second slavery. That's been debunked. They tried to say we came here in the same boat. No, they had a 1.5 meter square to come. They came free. They came with a religion. They had to go to a lawyer to agree to say that they were coming voluntarily. They had 3 medical tests. All these things are there, but it's hidden in literature because they're purposefully doing a critical race theory thing on us in the Caribbean, our heads of states, by not teaching history in the schools.
Do you know another peculiarity about St. Vincent and the Grenadines? And Brother Eric, I want you to be informed. The Reparations Commission, I don't know where it is, what it's doing.
It's been debunked by, Jomo was the leader. And because he's in conflict with Gonzalez, it's non-functional.
Right. Not only that, the entire thing is handpicked by Ralph Gonzalez. And let me tell you something. Ralph Gonzalez is one of the most dangerous politicians in the region when it comes to demeaning our cause. And he has a way of endearing people like the good woman in Barbados there. When she says she's Ralph's friend, you know she ain't no good. And I would like to see, because the evidence is there, I would like to see more from us here to get Ralph out of this equation. He is treating the people who were left behind after the exile in 1797 thereabout. Worse than ever. And we've been talking, we've been bleating, we've been doing everything possible. We've written regionally and everywhere else, and nobody seemed to be listening to our cause. Just last week, we completed a Garifuna conference. And let me tell you how this man thinks very little of us. He was due to make a presentation on Tuesday. He didn't turn up because he had to deal with some matters with Haiti. Even that was so okay. Wednesday, that man turned up in the very last session. You hear me? When we asking questions and discussing, and listen to the first thing he did. We all know his name when it comes to people's girl children. He sat down. The first place he got to sit down was beside a young lady of about 20 or so, not paying attention to what was being said. And within 10 minutes, he's embracing and kissing, right? When he finished that, he made about 6 interventions. The man catapulted the whole thing. And it's because he thinks he owns us and he doesn't care. We were there discussing, and it was one of the most successful conferences there was. And this man just come and take over the whole thing and talk. And I suspect that's what he does at CARICOM. That's what he does everywhere. And we must find a way to contain this man. He doesn't like Black people, no matter what all they say. We have the experience. And I know there's no time to discuss this right here now. But if we want a special session on it, we must get Rav to know his place and leave Black people business alone, whether they're in St. Vincent or anywhere else.
Suzette, you're right, and it's very tricky because he's now chair of ECLAP. And he is using that platform to push reparations, to make it look like Ali that they care when they don't.
My brother,
because Jomo had a very progressive team, and he started to dismantle it one by one.
My brother, there's a thing called pen and paper. I am not boasting. In 2014, he was slated to be the keynote speaker at that global reparation thing in Chicago. A group of us got together and made sure that he wasn't there. Hillary Beckles did it. Don't tell me it's tricky. It is not tricky. Let's put pen to paper. Let me get the evidence. All I need is support around the region to get Ralph off of this thing. The Garifuna matter. When Anim Eustace proclaimed that he would, he would, the term, I can't remember the word I want to use, but he saw them as honorary citizens. And the reason Anim did this was because he wasn't sure if he said they're citizens outright, whether it would affect those people who might be Americans or whoever else living, and didn't want that. So he proclaimed that they would be honorary citizens. Ralph Gonsalves got in the public and said he didn't know what that meant. And by way of questions, he intimated that when they got honorary citizenship, they were coming to St. Vincent for house, lands, and jobs. And now this is the same man who is following Anim Eustace's policy. But you know what was wrong with him? When the honorary citizen declaration was made, Ralph saw Anim's face, the Black man's face. He didn't see anything else. He only saw Anim's face and he couldn't stand it. So he made his racist remarks. And I'm saying, I have not heard a boopy from any of the other reparations commissions across the region. And I've been writing and talking all over the place. Unless we come together and share our experiences and deal with them as citizens of CARICOM nations and members, we're not going to get anywhere. It is not difficult. It is not tricky if we put our heads together and put pen to paper.
Ashe.
Okay, sister. Anyone else would like to make any comment on the proposal to have indentureship linked to our reparations quest?
Well, first of all, a good afternoon again to everyone. Indentureship, as far as I'm concerned, was a collusion between Gladstone, one of the largest slave owners in India, the East India Company, the West India Company, and the Hindu religious elites. It is a situation where Indians sold Indians into indentureship. And as Brother Eric stated, the way they came, the contracts, and everything. But it is the same Indian elite Muslims and Hindus who objected against the Indians being emancipated from slavery. Yes, I'm using the word. In 1843, by the Indian Slave Emancipation Act. The reason why Indians can force themselves upon us is because, Sister Luzette and others, we do not respect our own history, and therefore we don't respect ourselves. The period of reparations for Africans in Guyana, for example, started in 1625 until it ended in 1834. And we in Guyana are saying that we have a special reason for saying that it ended on the 13th of October, 1834, with the execution of Damon, our martyr and leader of our first unilateral Declaration of Independence. During that period, there was no Indian here, no Portuguese, no Chinese, as brothers saying, no German indenture, none. So where and why are we even having this confusion? What part or what role are they playing in our process? And I must say that I was a little disturbed with the word chattel slavery. I know that's the word that's bandied, but we have to take time to write, as Sister Luzette is saying, and correct these things that we're saying and these words that we're using. Since when chattel was slavery? We that they brought here were prisoners on prison industrial complexes that they call plantations. Slaves have a relationship with their masters. It's an agreement they go into. We didn't have any such thing. And every opportunity we got, we ran off of those prisons. And that is why they have to have wardens to bring us back, dead or alive. So I am in agreement with everyone that there is no place, no part in this for indentureship to be tagged on to what they call our enslavement. Another time we will go into what I'm saying about us not being slaves if we go to the dictionary, because we fought from beginning to end. That is why our bones are in the ocean of the Ethiopian Sea, which they rename Atlantic Ocean. We're at the bottom there because we never accepted. And until we do the correction and do what is correct, they will always have us going around in circle. But colonialism has no place with us. Indentureship has no place with us. We are talking about a specific period. That's my take on it.
Thank you very much, Sister Penda.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I just come in? And thank you for all of those who have spoken. It's Michelle Asantra, by the way.
Hi, sister.
Hello,
Greetings.
greetings, Sister
Hello.
Penda. Greetings, Brother Eric, and all those of you that I know from your names. Raskofi, greetings to you, Sister Corrine. Yeah, I think my there's some part of my body that is just kind of like trying not to hyperventilate at this whole reality that we're facing, because I also don't understand how we've got here, other than I know what Brother Eric has just relayed, but it's just goes to show that we are definitely not speaking with one voice and one intention, one will, because there should never be a case where Mia Motley could even put this on the table. How has she got it in her head that supposedly, like, an intelligent person who's representing her Barbados, how has she moved into that position where she and others can put this on the table? I'm just struggling to understand, because it is, as everybody has outlaid, it's clear that these are two different experiences. Where are the precedent for any such combination? Where's the precedent? Where has this ever happened? We need to understand that. I need to know, because I don't know whether there is something where we could go to and say there is no precedent for this. These are two separate historical experiences, and we need to keep them as such. I made it clear when I had when we were having a conversation about the Demerara uprising some time ago, when Charlie Gladstone was there, and I don't know if this is where the water is getting traction or muddying, whatever, because that Gladstone link to indentureship, that it must be something in there that's driving it as well. So we need to be clear about what these heirs of slavery, so-called, how they're being involved and how they're involving themselves in our matters and our business, so that we remain clear, we remain focused, and remain willfully intent on getting what is rightfully ours for our ancestors. I don't think there is any argument, and certainly it's a joke that Ali is going to be this face of this argument. So I'm just I just think there are more people. They're the legal team. I don't know who the legal people are who would know this, and this is why grassroots work, because when it's given over to the elite forces, it can get a bit derailed as it might be. But what I would like Eric perhaps to just give us a hint at is whether this is likely to gain any kind of traction beyond this kind of like surface one. Is there any possibility that this is likely to gain traction?
Thanks, sister. Let me add to what you said earlier, and then I'll answer your question. When the Holocaust in Germany and the Holocaust in Namibia with the Herero people, Germany was involved in both. Yet they never linked the two when they went for reparations, and they were similar, much less trying to link them now when it's indentureship and enslavement. So you just see that there has never been a precedent. And this is one that our leaders are trying to force on us. The Charlie Gladstone thing. When they came here, Ali tried to take control of the visit to push indentureship, and we resisted it. He had people come to the airport to put banners to get them afraid, because he wanted to get them under his control. We fought that off and everything. What needs to be realized is that indentureship started in Mauritius and Seychelles a long time before it started with Charlie Gladstone. It was an immigration act passed by the government of India and the British government and the colonists. It had laws. So for them to try to bring Gladstone in this, and I agree with you in terms of this heirs of slavery, they're trying to mesh everything up to confuse us. And Ali thought that opportunity when they were here to have them apologize for indentureship, which they didn't. with regards to whether it will take hold, at our meeting on the 28th, we will absolutely vote against it. And everyone who has seen my letter is supporting it. So we've gotten them in a bind because they now have to come and justify why they would bring them into our existing committees. In Suriname, they've already started that because Santoki and Ramson, who they're busy trying to make chair of the Organization of Latin America States or Unity or something, they're both trying to push indentureship. And the Surinamese, Armanzunda, them are under pressure because, like Guyana, these Indian leaders are suppressing Black people in Suriname and in Guyana. But it's not going to take root because most of the people, with the exception of St. Lucia, are going to vote against it. And we're going to be very public about it. So our strategy was to write the letter and lay the trap for them now to come and explain how the two are going to fit in the same committee. And especially given the nuances of what happened in Barbados with the Irish, I don't think none of them, including Mia, really fully understood what they were trying to do because they were so much enthused with their own personal gain, being UN Secretary General and Ali being perceived as the leader of reparations, which is what she is given him the task of doing because she doesn't want to say anything. By the way, she has not written to the Dutch, who apologized 19th of December 2022. The Dutch were expecting something from CARICOM because they apologized. When I visited them last year, they were waiting for a letter from Mia Motley to start a negotiation. She's done nothing because, again, she doesn't want to raise the issue of reparations whilst trying to become UN Secretary General. But it's not going to happen under our watch. And the civil society has to speak out, which is what we're discussing right now.
I have a question.
Please.
Go ahead.
Eric, is there a regional reparations commission? And if so, how many members have you got? Because I'm anxious to know
whether 15
whether
members, including the Pan-African Organization Civil Society Group, led by David Commissar. And they're against.
And is St. Vincent represented at that level, and who is there?
No, St. Vincent has not had a person attending meetings for the last 2 years since Jomo was removed. And Trinidad, by the way, just came on board this year because even though they have a Black prime minister, they did nothing for 3 years. Now that the Bradford report has come out and said that they owe us $107 trillion, the British owe Guyana $5 trillion, and the Dutch owe us $50 billion. Now everybody is surfacing, including Trinidad.
So we need to have a discussion about how we get grassroots people involved at the regional level. Because if St. Vincent is not included and there's so much happening here, then I don't want to say you.
Because he is part of the 5 heads of states and he's never funded his committee and he's removed the head. This is Ralph Gonzalez. So he should have nothing to say about reparations because even within St. Vincent, he's doing nothing.
Now you got it. I'm glad the nail it's come to the fore what I'm trying to say. You see, when we have these broken links in the chain, this is why they could play the backside like this. My sister, what's her name again, just asked, how did we get here? You've just explained it. We got here because we have some selfish, greedy, politically corrupt people sitting representing us, making decisions, and we're not saying anything or little.
Brother Eric and the others, I want to say on his behalf also, we have someone, Sister Luzette, who is a fighter also in Trinidad, Minister David Mohammed. He couldn't join us today because he has a meeting at this time in, in England.
Yeah, but and the guys there in Trinidad are totally against it too.
Yes, they are. But he wanted us to know that he is so against it, Brother Eric, that he wrote in his book, Knowledge is Power, he has a 10-point plan where he did a comparison between, and I'm using the word quote unquote, if it's the thing that they're going to use to get you to reparation, which I call our imprisonment, but slavery and indentureship. And, you know, we had a very long chat this morning, and he was saying how strongly he feels, and he feels just like Dr. Michelle Osanto. How is this possible? How did we get to this stage? So yes, we have a lot of people who are totally against this.
Sister Penda, the thing is numerological. This is a contract, individually signed contract, not even a class action contract. This is individuals who signed. They came, they got paid, they kept everything, they got land, they got money, and they've benefited generationally. How are you going to take that to to the ICJ, which is where we're heading? And it happened for 79 years. How many people died? We lost 85% of the people who came here. So they don't even have a legal case. And when you add the complexities, you see the Portuguese and the Chinese want nothing of this. They don't care about it because they see it as politics. And then when you add in Mia's situation, which she didn't think through, these Irish, I don't know how she's gonna explain it if the right media person in the UK were to ask her and Adi about the Irish. So it's totally misaligned, and it's just politics and selfishness.
Yeah. I agree. I saw Sister Joan on this page, and she's not saying anything.
I think she's left. I'm not seeing her right now.
And is there what's his name? Is Major Leacock here? Do you know?
Oh.
Okay.
She dropped off because of bandwidth problems. She was on earlier, Sister Penda.
Oh.
I think we need to write a letter as civil society to the Secretary General of the CARICOM and get groups to put it in individual newspapers because it's outrageous.
Right, and copy to some relevant person at the United Nations level, because all of this is done
Permanent Forum. Yes, Permanent Forum.
Whoever it is, we need to get them involved. And,
even the new head of the UN Permanent Forum for People of African Descent, Dr. June Suma, was upset when she heard it.
And a copy to SILAC as well.
Yes, yes. Lulu will jump out of his seat if he heard this, and he's part of SILAC.
So how was can I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
So how are we how is our objections being aligned with the African Union or any of the African nations as well? How are they?
Well, Michelle, I've been communicating with them and they are totally angry. They see it as jumping on, of trying to corrupt our process, to slow down our progress, and to be racist. We met with them in November in Ghana, and I have a list of 230-something people from that conference on a WhatsApp group, and they're quite aware of this, and they're upset. Because part of the process is that if we go down this path, we're going to lose our alliances in Africa, in the USA, in England, and Netherlands. And that's what they want. They want to break up our process. The Americans will not support this. And Cobra, NARC, no one will support this.
So let's get a list of the people that we, first of all, who we're going to write to. And Michelle raised a very good question that beckons a further question. Who are we going to include in this correspondence? And
I can get you details for all. I can get you the emails of all the heads of states in CARICOM. I can get you the emails of the key people in the USA, Ham and those guys. I can get you key addresses of people in the AU. And then we have our own networks in Holland and the UK and Canada and everywhere else.
Right.
So I have a list of a lot of them, the emails.
So let me
because
ask you,
they
are we
engage me.
are we going to write individually or what? What the purpose of this group is what?
Well,
I think we'll write a common letter to all of them. So they all see it and they all see that we're writing to all of them at the same time and not hiding by doing onesie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we should do that, Brother Eric. If you can get the lists that you are talking about to Brother Elton, and then he be the point person who will send it to all of us who are here. And what we need to do, and I'm just saying this, I don't want to sound, arrogant or anything on this. What we did with CABE in America is, like Brother said, we would do a letter, which everybody agreed on, and then we would send it out to all the groups who in turn will send it off to these persons. So we're on the same page, we're saying the same thing, we're with the same voice, which is what Sister Lucette is talking about.
That's a great idea, Sister Penda, because we have almost we have a mailing list of almost 250 African organizations, NGOs, civil society groups involved in the Permanent Forum, and we have a similar number of groups in the Africa Union. And we need to get the letter to all of them too.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So Sister Penda has commandeered that Elton be the person.
I agree.
I will not quarrel much, but I'm just into making this intervention to indicate that I see Brother Gordon from London, and I have Brother Kwame and Brother Raskofi coming out to
great.
If they would like to make a comment towards making this effort as successful as we would like it to be.
Well, greetings, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Yes,
yes, you can.
I'm here with Sister Donna, and much thanks for your work, this and your diligence in watching the rather crazy attempt to link these two separate events. No doubt, I mean, certainly the descendants, the people who experienced indentureship, they could have a beef with the people who abuse them, and they should probably pursue it on their own. But the attempt to link it to reparations seems really vindictive when we think of all the work that the ancestors put in from the start. Even if I remember correctly, even from the Declaration of the Colored Peoples of the World way back, I can't remember the exact title of the book. Our ancestors, like you said, have always struggled on this issue of the captivity, and like you're right, have always fought against it. So it's really offensive just thinking of the characters involved in this, Mia Motley and Ifra Ali, their sincerity, quote unquote, is troubling. So I agree with the sentiment of the group, and I support the action to move forward by sending that signal out to the world that we're not going to be bamboozled again.
But Elton, I'd like to use that word vindictive, because it is.
It is.
Yeah, so thank you again.
Okay, brother. Brother Gordon?
Thank you, and greetings to everyone. I see some familiar faces there, so I know I'm here, so now I'm with family. Yeah, I've just tuned in, and I would just echo what Brother Kwame has said there. The two cannot be linked. Our experience is a Holocaust. It's not just the indentureship mechanism. So yeah, I would just echo. I just echo what Brother Kwame said.
Raskofi says where he is in the environment, he cannot really speak. Maybe it's noisy or what, I don't know. Thank you, brother.
Elton, you remember early last year, the Indian community in Guyana started writing a lot about indentureship being the same as slavery.
Yes. Well,
as a
Aberdeen
prelude
has
to
been
this.
pushing that long before last year.
Yes. And what I did was exactly what Gordon said. I said, are the Indians going to tell the Jews that indentureship was the same as the Holocaust? And they stopped writing. And that broadened the international exposure of their trickery, because the Jews will pick this up too. And once I said the Jewish Holocaust, they stopped writing. We got to use the same strategy and put them back in their box.
Okay, then.
And I share to Brother Gordon. I like the word that he used, because we didn't have one, but we had a lot of Holocaust. And brother, you're so on target.
Ma'afa, yeah.
Okay. Then no, the intent of this was to be for 1 hour. I do not know if you guys will allow me to stop at the hour, or we take another 10, 15 minutes to wrap up.
Brother Elton, I'd like to pick up what Sister Lucette was saying, because the source of the issue is Gonzalez, Ali, Santoki, and Mia. And they hold important positions. Head of CARICOM, head of the PMSC, head of ECLAC. And Santoki, by the way, received 33 million euros from the Dutch out of the 200 million to deal with whatever he's going to deal with, and has jumped away from a CARICOM negotiation, which is what we agreed to. He's negotiating right now with the Dutch, and he gets 33 million euros. But those are the 4 people, and I don't know how, because the others are against it, but because these are in leadership positions, their voice overwhelms everybody else's voice. We need to say
Eric,
something about these.
We have to find a way to chop the heads of the snakes off and kill the body.
Maybe what we can do.
Eric, if I may, I don't know for anybody else, but for Gonzalez, he always sees the dollar signs in everything, including this. For example, the bicentenary, what you call it, commemoration. I think each head, I'm not sure, got some money from the United Nations through one of its agencies. And we're still asking him the question, where did the money go? Was it spent on the farcical speech he delivered? He knows more of our history than we know. So I'm trying to say and endorse that in resisting this thing, as Sister Pender said, I wouldn't have said it in that way, but it's very good. Chop off the head of the snake. Bottom line.
And to make it even more competitive, in our letter, we appeal to Lula to bring sense to these folks. So
I think Lula should be an ally.
We create some tension.
Lula should,
because he came to Guyana and said, what are you doing with these teachers? You're building bricks and you're starving your teachers. He was the only one with the guts to say that.
He's coming from a trade union position, and he knows what the strength of the union and people is all about. They also have no trade union experience.
It's not only trade union experience, it's common sense. The teachers are the ones who mold everyone for the future of the country. And if they can't eat, if they're not comfortable, how can they deliver?
And it's outrageous because of the amount of money we have that they're spending and stealing. Exactly. They could double teacher salary and nothing would happen.
Right. And according to several court judgments, where Gonzalez himself owes a lot of us reparations, and he's resisting it by way of appealing these judgments. So how can he go out there talking about reparations and indentured? Tell him and to go to hell.
And he's got 2 good articles. I'll try and find it and send it to you. He wrote extensively on the Garafunas and how they need to be given reparations. He's got 2 good articles in it. Does he
I'm sorry, I don't
camouflage
read
it?
them. I don't read them. Sorry.
Okay, Kwame, you can see you want to say something, Brother Kwame?
Yeah, not to go off too far on a tangent, but when you mentioned Ifran Ali and the teachers and other things, there's something particularly insidious about somebody who is inside their own country conducting a kind of inadvertently or in effect an apartheid kind of system, then
It's
going to the
purposeful, it's not
world
inadvertent.
and right. Well, you know where I'm going with this. So I don't know. I don't want to put too much on our plate, but it seems to me that going down the road we could be particularly vulnerable to one possibly betraying the work of our ancestors, not directly, and creating some serious problems for future generations. Because I really find it offensive to hear Ifran Ali, and I must say he made some rather eloquent speeches about reparations when speaking internationally. So
They were
but
written for him
so
by Mia and David Commisson.
yeah.
And he couldn't even pronounce the word the first time with the UN. I mean, Mia's passion is to become UN Secretary General, and that is overwhelming everything else.
But Eric, sorry, what is Mia's title? What is her overarching other than the
The Prime Ministerial Subcommittee in Reparations has 5 countries: Barbados, Guyana, Suriname, Haiti, and St. Vincent. And they're the ones who are supposed to speak about reparations, but Mia is the chair. She's the one who has to write the letters to all the 10 heads of states in Europe, which she hasn't done, even though the letters have been on her desk for over a year. So she's now giving Ali that role so that she doesn't get caught publicly with the Dutch and the British when they come to vote for Secretary General.
She could do that as well. I mean, the stuff that's happening, I'm just like, the protocols just seem
who they
like
are.
it's dystopian, like. And she chose to give it to Irfan Ali because
yes,
she needs stuff for him because this economy got all sorts of things that will benefit Barbados. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Including
They're
the
all
acres of
soaking
lands
under
that
the
he
oil.
got.
I can't believe I'm pretending that that's not a real thing, Sister Penda, because I can't get my head around that one either.
That's funny.
I think the Irish indentureship thing can blow up in her face.
I hope something blows up there.
Okay.
Brother Kwame, nice seeing you again. I know you can't see me, but I'm seeing you, and it's nice being able to see you.
We have a timing issue. We need to write to the CARICOM Reparations Commission before the 28th, which is when they have the first meeting. We have to get it in front of the Permanent Forum, which is April 15th to the 19th in Geneva. So those are some key things.
Timelines. Okay. Thank you very much, brother, for those timelines.
Yeah.
So we have work to do. Now, I take the prerogative. We have just 3 minutes more because that's actually 50 minutes. And ask, should we meet again? Normally, the ACDA is a 1 per month program. But because of this issue, I think we can do it again next week because there are other areas that need to be ventilated on it. Do we have agreement?
Aye.
Thank you.
I agree.
Agreed.
Okay.
We have to
And
deal
by
with the
then,
whole issue later.
So we'll meet again next week.
Yes.
No, Brother Elton, before you sign us off, by then you would have gotten the list from Brother Eric.
We will do that. We will work on the letter between them.
Which I know he's going to forward to you tonight.
Yes.
So
yes.
I saw Sister Michelle was asking about Eric's letter. If Eric didn't send it, I think I saw a note from Eric to her. I will get that to you immediately, sister. A link to the letter.
Great.
Yeah, I boxed them in. So if they come and say they're merging these committees, they're gonna have a lot to explain.
Yeah.
Okay then.
All
Thank
right.
you very much
Thanks,
for your
everyone.
time. And
Blessed.
we'll meet next
Thanks,
week at the same
everyone.
time again.
Yeah, sorry I joined late. I gotta get the timing right.
Good to see you. Good to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
you.
good to see everyone. Good to see
All right.
everyone.
Okay
Much
then.
love.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Penda, can you call me, please?
Yes, I certainly will.
Thank you.
Howard.
You're
Thank
most
you all
welcome.
and goodbye.
Bye-bye.